If you're anything like our hosts, or me for that matter, playing with Legos was a foundational part of your childhood, and a big part of the reason you probably got interested in design. And given the arc of Lego's history, it's clear that they're a product-driven company. Their products are addictively engaging, highly engineered design masterpieces. They clearly understand the needs of their customers, and they're constantly evolving and innovating with their products to remain a highly profitable company. So you can imagine our excitement when Aaron and Eli had a chance to chat with Dan Winger, Senior Innovation Designer at the Lego Future Lab. Together, they had a chance to dive into user testing at Lego, what the future of physical play looks like in the age of VR, and how story affects product development at Lego. So grab your favorite set of Legos, get comfortable, and thanks for listening.
Support for Design Better comes from Gusto, who make running a small business easy. Get 3 months free at gusto.com/designbetter once you run your first payroll. Running a small business is hard work, especially all of the payroll, quarterly tax filing stuff, and HR things. I'd rather be focused on my business and my customers than dealing with the administrative duties. But Gusto makes it easy. They automate the complicated parts of running a business. With Gusto, I never miss federal or state payroll tax filings. And I love the time off requests and time tracking tools. Gusto even offers a small group health insurance option for nearly any budget. When you run into issues you need help with, their HR experts are ready to help. It's a very well-designed product, easy to use, and great emotional design that will put a smile on your face. Design Better listeners get 3 months free once they run their first payroll. Just go to gusto.com/designbetter. That's gusto.com/designbetter. I've worked with lots of search firms, both as a leader searching for new talent for my teams, and as an individual exploring new steps in my career. But I trust none more than Wirt & Company. Since 1995, Wirt & Company has been the design community's most trusted search firm, co-founded by a designer and led by a CEO who has in-house operational startup experience. Wirt & Company is guided by the principle that creative leadership is essential to business success. They've helped some of the most admired brands from early-stage startup to Fortune 500 build world-class creative teams. We're talking about companies like Airbnb, the New York Times, the Four Seasons, Notion, Figma, Google, Cartier, and Fair. Not bad. If you're looking for a partner to help you find the right person for a critical role, look no further than Wirt & Company. And if you're looking for your next design leadership role, Wirt & Company will guide you through the process as a friend and a champion throughout your journey. They take the time to get to know you, to understand what you need professionally and personally. Whether you're looking for your next role or your next team member, Wirt & Company can help you find a meaningful relationship. Visit wirtco.com to learn more and get in touch. That's WERTCO.com.
Hey, Dan. We've got Dan Winger here, Senior Concept Designer at Lego Future Lab. Dan, so excited to have you on our show.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Eli.
Absolutely. So, Dan, what exactly is Lego Future Lab? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Lego Future Lab is the front-end innovation team where we look at ways to stretch Lego products beyond our existing portfolio. And, since the release of the iPad, many of our briefs have been focused on the intersection of physical and digital play. So we've been spending a lot of time there. But I guess actually just a few months ago, we actually had a reorg, and we are now Creative Play Lab, where we're focused less on that intersection of physical and digital and just looking at new opportunities for the Lego group broadly.
It's kind of an incredibly dreamy job, right? To be at Lego, but also to be at the forefront of Lego and new ideas that are coming together out of Lego.
Yeah, it's been fantastic. We started off as another group as well. It was originally called Concept Lab when I started 9 years ago. But every team has been this innovation. It's kind of been the front end of the front end department. So we're feeding the innovation pipeline.
Got it. So can you talk a bit about your background and how you found your way into this role? I saw that you went to Iowa State. I'm an Iowa Hawkeye, so we're we're arch enemies, I guess. But
oh no, I grew up in Hawkeye country, so it's okay.
All right, cool. Yeah, I'm curious how you found your way into this role.
Yes, I studied architecture at Iowa State and then moved out here to Pasadena 11 years ago to go to grad school at Art Center. And I was in the graduate industrial design program. And while working on my thesis project, it was called Creatoys. It was a toy with a digital game that interacted with a digital game to teach kids music and to teach music more like an art class. So as I was developing that, one of my instructors introduced me to Martin Sanders, my current manager. So after I had graduated, I reached out to him and got some freelance work initially, and then just continued on and, was hired onto the team. So I was only I guess when I started, there was only two of us. So it's a tiny satellite office out here. So I got very lucky to find a path into Lego. So there are very, very few opportunities.
And were you a big Lego fan as a kid? I mean, is this something you grew up playing with a lot?
Not a lot. I mean, I hate to say, but I was just a casual Lego user. I remember we just had one red brick-shaped bucket full of various Lego bricks. I believe we got it at a garage sale. And I had three brothers, so the only way I really played with it was we'd build these, ugly little cars, and then we'd smash them into each other, and playing demolition derby, and last one to fall apart would win. But that was roughly the extent of my Lego experience as a kid. So I didn't even realize they had sets, with instructions until shortly before I started working with Lego.
Yeah.
Dan, what does a typical day look like for you with Lego, if there is a typical one? Or you could say, what was it like yesterday, if that's better?
Yeah, it's definitely varied over the years, but a day usually often starts with a 6 a.m. phone call to our headquarters in Billund. And from there, probably a 1 hour meeting, and then move into kind of, just project development. And that varies greatly depending on the type of project. It could be more of a digital experience, could be an app, a game, it could be a physical product. And in the past, I've done everything from like preschool store toys to developing stories and IPs to robotics, educational stuff. So the typical, there's not exactly a typical day. So the software and design process changes on the phase of development and the project itself.
Yeah, maybe you could define IPs for our listeners because they might not be familiar.
Oh, yeah. IPs are new stories that we develop internally, such as Ninjago and Chima have been some of our bigger IPs. So introducing new characters, new universes, kind of defining the conflict and, so kind of toy focused stories.
The story is particularly interesting in the evolution of Lego as a business. You're talking about the type of Lego play that you had as a kid that you didn't even know that there were kits. It was just like bricks that you put together. And that's kind of the early story, the early versions of Lego. And I remember as a kid that I'd get like a spaceship kit for Christmas, and I'd build that spaceship, and then I'd build 100 other spaceships. But they weren't necessarily characters. The story was still pretty much an open system that I could explore in lots of ways. And now, I've got kids, and I'm building Lego kits still with my kids, and they're connected to very specific stories. Like it's Lego Star Wars, and it's a particular ship from Lego Star Wars, and it's the Millennium Falcon from this particular movie. So like it's very specific to connect the user to that story. Can you talk about how story shapes the work that you guys are doing and the choices that you make?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point because Lego Star Wars has definitely shifted how we develop products. So, most of our products offer this role play experience. And with role play, you need to nail a story. Kids need to understand the motivations of these characters, and it gives them more levers to often create their own stories or act out familiar stories. So as we, I guess, in terms of, I probably can't speak too much of how we develop the IPs themselves, but since, there's other teams who really focus on creating these IPs and stories, but as an innovation team, we often want to look beyond role play and inject new types of play into our portfolio. So, but at the end of the day, even if we have, new innovative play, we'll often need to inject these layers of story or at very least themes on top of it to engage the users. So,
yeah. Well, in video games, there's this concept of an open system and a closed system. That, let's say, The Sims would be an open system where there's play and you can go in lots of different directions. And then there's a closed system, which would be like Super Mario Brothers, where it's on rails. It's very linear. Do you guys think about that? Whether you're developing a story that's unique, like Ninjago, or Star Wars, where that's more linear. Do you think about the openness and how that might be attractive on the market?
Yeah, I mean, we always want to inspire kids to, be creative and tell their own stories, but they often need a starting point, especially for the younger kids. So, and we find the types of stories that a 5-year-old and a 7-year-old like are vastly different because they have fewer frames of reference to the world around them. So, giving them the frames of reference and then letting them go on and kind of create their own is a goal. And especially our team is Creative Play Lab. We're looking for new creative experiences with Lego, and some may be story focused. So, but at the end of the day, yeah, we're a creative brand, and we want to find any opportunity to engage kids with a creative experience.
Yeah, maybe you could take us back a little bit. And you said in your previous work, you were working on products that had physical and digital integration. And if you can talk about it, could you tell the story about how you prototype those products, or maybe it's, some of the tactics you used there?
Yeah, well, when we started on that, on the integrated physical digital toys, it was just the two of us in LA, and we had an industrial design background. So much of our development was, through design sheets or mocking up UI and graphics, where we didn't have the technical capabilities to build it out. But a few years ago, we hired a couple engineers, and they helped the process greatly, where we are actually able to have functioning digital prototypes with physical material in a matter of hours to days to weeks, depending on the polish and how deep the experience was. So I guess in terms of prototyping, a lot of it started often started with design sketch sheets. We paper prototype sometimes mock up UI and kind of even act out the story to visuals on a screen, to getting hands-on demos in the hands of kids is our ultimate goal, because it's great to experience the product or experience itself, but it's even better when we can get it into the hands of our users and get feedback from them directly.
Tell us more about that. That sounds so fun. You get to make things, cool, fun, exciting play things, and put them in the hands of kids and see what happens. What's that look like?
It's great. And yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, on every project we do, we will never be the core users. So we need to understand their mindset, because we have our own opinions, but, we're not the market. So we test as often as possible, and we try to test every couple weeks at the end of our sprint cycle. So we'll create a minimum viable product. Sometimes it's a matter of mocking up, kind of UI for apps, or building actual products with Lego bricks to, games as we've done in the past. So yeah, it often starts with, a minimum viable product, get, initial insights, and then, take those insights and, further development, refine the prototypes and the experience, and reloop.
Earlier, you were talking about, sketching and coming up with ideas. Can you talk about the role of sketching in the studio? Like, I know that you have a background, studying architecture. You probably draw all the time, and you are an illustrator as well. Is that are these typical skill sets within the team? Are you drawing ideas a lot? Are other people drawing ideas? How does that get shared?
No matter the project or the idea, you need to communicate it to someone. And that can be through sketches. It can be through videos, models. But in LA, we don't have the prototyping resources as they do in Denmark. So often we would start everything with a concept sketch. But things have been changing recently, and we've been trying to get more hands-on with the communication of these. So we have kind of been moving away from sketching a bit more to doing rough and dirty prototypes, and often sending over videos of the concepts to communicate it real quickly and kind of effective. Snappy and effective. So we found that videos have been a great way to give updates of our kind of development, because not everyone has the time to kind of read a PowerPoint deck. So just a 2-minute, you can communicate a lot in a 2-minute video.
Support for Design Better comes from Uplift Desk, who help you work better and live healthier. Eli and I log a lot of hours at our desks, which can be detrimental to one's health if you're not paying attention to ergonomics. Uplift Desk offer high-quality, well-designed desks, chairs, and accessories to help you build an ergonomic workspace for home or work. Eli recently got a standing desk, and I got a human-scale Freedom chair. I've been dreaming about this chair for a long time, and I finally got one. I've already noticed a big change in my posture with this chair, and my body thanks me for it. Eli is logging a lot more hours standing than sitting these days, and he can make quick transitions with the flip of a switch. We love Uplift Desk, and we know that you will too. Design Better listeners can get a special deal by visiting upliftdesk.com and use the code DesignBetter at checkout for 5% off your order. You'll get free shipping, free returns, and an industry-leading 15-year warranty. Go to upliftdesk.com, use code DesignBetter, and get 5% off. Design a better workspace with Uplift Desk. Support for Design Better comes from Gusto, who make running a small business easy. Get 3 months free at gusto.com/designbetter once you run your first payroll. Running a small business is hard work, especially all of the payroll, quarterly tax filing stuff, and HR things. I'd rather be focused on my business and my customers than dealing with the administrative duties. But Gusto makes it easy. They automate the complicated parts of running a business. With Gusto, I never miss federal or state payroll tax filings, and I love the time off requests and time tracking tools. Gusto even offers a small group health insurance option for nearly any budget. When you run into issues you need help with, their HR experts are ready to help. It's a very well-designed product, easy to use, and great emotional design that will put a smile on your face. Design Better listeners get 3 months free once they run their first payroll. Just go to gusto.com/designbetter. That's gusto.com/designbetter. Support for Design Better comes from Factor, America's #1 ready-to-eat meal delivery. Design Better listeners can save 50% on their order at factormeals.com/designbetter50. Use the code DesignBetter50. You know what happens at my house when things get really busy? In the evenings, we turn to takeout, which can be expensive and it's not very good for our health. Lately, we're making a better choice at crunch time. We turn to Factor for chef-created, dietitian-approved meals that are ready to eat in just 2 minutes. We like the flexibility of Factor too. You can change your order up every week with plans from 4 to 18 meals per week, or you can pause or reschedule your deliveries at any time. The meals are so tasty. My wife and I are huge fans, and I like their smoothies too, which I find are perfect for a quick, healthy breakfast. Factor can help you eat well and feel good while focusing on your career and your family. Head to factormeals.com/designbetter50 and use the code DesignBetter50 to get 50% off your order. That's code DesignBetter50 at factormeals.com/designbetter50 to get half off your order.
So with your prototypes, do you get a chance to get them in front of users and test them, or do you do any other means of user testing?
Yeah, we try to do it at the end of every sprint, every 2 weeks to get something in the hands of our users, and that will influence the next round of development. Sometimes it means, pushing a project to the back burner and exploring something else. But, much of the time it means refinement and even testing various ingredients of a bigger project. So, not every cycle are we testing the totality of the experience, but just different components. And once we learn what factors work the best, we'll integrate it back into the larger project and continue development. So, and another way we also work with kids is doing foundation studies. So we did one last year where we brought a bunch of kids into a room, and this was a formal session, and just trying to get their inputs on creativity and just broadly understand creativity. So it wasn't linked to specific project exactly, just more of kind of kids' mindsets and like what activities they like doing and how do they express their creativity. And we've even done some in-home tests in the past where we get to see kids how they play in their natural environment, which is fantastic.
Yeah, I imagine there's not much more rewarding than getting your creation in front of the kids and see how excited they are about it.
Yeah, and we're prepping for our first in-home test on this current project, which in a month or two. So it'll be great to see, their input, because there's only so much you can learn. A lot of these sessions are a half hour to 90 minute, and so we don't get the full experience. So when they have it in their home, it's a great indicator of, how long they can play with this, or maybe, it's cold at first, but they can get into it more, or the opposite where, it starts off real strong, but the play is not sustainable. So yeah, we can learn a lot more once we get these into their hands and into their homes.
Does Lego do market research? How do you know which direction to go with a new product?
Yes, we do. We often work with our global insights team, so they will help lead some of the research. Holistically, they give us a lot of kind of macro trends and, information, understanding, play types of children, kind of lifestyle shifts, but they will also assist on project development, where they come in and will help run some of the larger tests and then kind of help us form insights and, kind of help define where to take the project next. But, a lot of times we will do this research ourselves. But, at certain milestones, we will pull them in more heavily to help facilitate. Because it's great to have that unbiased opinion as well, someone who's not on the project and has a kind of a more holistic view.
So Dan, you mentioned again that you used to work on these physical digital products, but you've moved away from that a little bit. But I'm curious, as you look towards the future of product design, and there's all these really immersive experiences for kids, like virtual reality, which I'm totally scared about my kids getting exposed to. But how do you maintain a connection to physical play with these types of devices around?
Yeah, I guess to clarify, the reason why we've shifted from the intersection of physical and digital is because everybody in the industry is looking at, everybody in the company is looking at. So we don't need our team to solely look at it. So it's definitely, it's definitely an important area. Digital play is exciting to kids, and so. But what we try to do is leverage the excitement and the capabilities of digital technologies and make those enhance the bricks themselves. So we launched Lego Fusion a couple years back, and it was a series of 4 games that came with various bricks. So one of the games was a city building simulation game. And so when you would unlock a new building, such as a pizzeria, you could then go back to your Lego bricks, design and build whatever, shape pizzeria you want, then scan it with the tablet. And then that would be uploaded into your custom creation would be, integrated into the city. And so you can fully design your city down to, what each building looks like. So there's ways where, we can leverage the existing, the digital technologies to make the physical bricks more exciting and get kids more engaged in a creative building experience, which is something we've often looked at.
Do you have any stories? I think that loop between the physical product and the digital interaction is really interesting. Do you have any stories around how well that worked or any kind of challenges in implementing that?
Yeah, there's definitely tech challenges to get the scanning capability right, because kids will be using different devices. They'll have different lighting conditions. So there's definitely been challenges, kind of pushing the limits of the technologies to achieve what we want. But yeah, there's definitely been many experiences where, we could get things functioning for prototypes, but to take it to market would be more challenging because we wouldn't have the controlled conditions to make it work as we would do it in our own setup.
So Aaron turned me on to this Lego documentary, the Brickumentary, which is pretty great. And there's a scene where they're talking to Larry Page, and he built an entire inkjet printer from Lego bricks. And then they mentioned how Google housed their first server in Lego. I'm curious, what's the most outlandish thing that you've ever seen built out of Lego, or most creative thing?
Yeah, I'm often surprised to find, I find a new interesting Lego creation every month. It seems like if something exists, it will probably exist in Lego. So a while back, I saw a full-size air-powered rideable car, and James May even built an entire livable house using Lego bricks. I think it was over 3 million pieces. But actually, one of the most exciting ones was actually created by a former intern of ours in Future Lab, Carlos Torres. He made a prosthetic arm that integrated Lego bricks. And I just love it because it's very empowering for, kids who would have this disability, and it turns it into a benefit in many ways. So I think, I don't know if that's the most outlandish, but it's definitely the project that I've loved the most.
And that's really fantastic because some student teams in the class I teach have been working on a project that's aimed at prosthetics. And I think that's a really underserved area where there's a lot of creativity that could be at play there. So that's really, really neat to hear about. Also in that same documentary, it was mentioned that Lego's been used to prototype architectural creations. I think they prototyped one of the Lego buildings in Denmark. And they also visualized a cityscape with traffic patterns and heat maps at MIT. You mentioned already this prosthetic, which is really, really cool. But is there any other ways that you've seen Lego been used as a prototyping tool?
Yeah. Lego bricks are essentially a low resolution 3D printing tool. So you can create anything out of it. I mean, maybe doing like surface design of a car will be difficult, but we were working with NASA JPL on a project years back, and they were telling us they prototyped the Mars rover using Lego Technic pieces, trying to get working on the articulation of the chassis, and they even requested milled aluminum Lego bricks or Technic pieces so they could do more more prototyping on. There was a Braille printer created by a 13-year-old using Lego, and even there's been some level design in games done with Lego bricks. I think it was on Metal Gear Solid, and pretty much anything mechanical, you'll find it on find some video on YouTube. They've even made 3D printers out of Lego bricks.
So one of the challenges of being on the forefront of coming up with new ideas at Lego is that you're probably coming up with new pieces that need to be manufactured that aren't already part of the system. And that can be a good thing because it can open up doors to new ideas, but it can also create operationalizing problems of, if there's a total of 8,500 Lego bricks that are being manufactured, adding 10, 20, 200, 2,000, that changes the bottom line a lot. Do you guys have to think about operationalizing in the creative process at all, or is that something that gets kicked down the road?
Yeah, definitely. And we, on many projects, we try not to introduce new elements. We see what can be done with the existing bricks we have. But of course, there will be projects that do need new elements, and that can drive up the cost of manufacturing considerably. So when they are injected, that will have to be addressed in kind of business factors. So, I mean, many of our projects we try to innovate without retooling. So there's already so much that can be created with the bricks we have, but occasionally we will need new elements, and we can hack stuff together. We were on a robotics project a while back where we were doing a lot of 3D printing of new elements, but I think that probably hurt the business case of that concept.
So I read a little interview with you in a Cora Flott article. We'll link to that in the show notes. But you mentioned using a mixture of design thinking and lean startup processes in your work. Is that something you could chat about a little bit more?
Yeah. Yes. Well, design thinking is great to get that human-centered perspective, especially knowing that we aren't the users. So, that process helps, it gives us time to research the users and even kind of industry trends and technological advancements. So that will get us in the mindset of the kind of the user experience. And it's great for early stages, where later development, we kind of move towards more of a lean startup approach where we do fast cycles, to get maximum learning for kind of minimum viable products. So, both center on this cycle of prototype, testing, and learning. So I think the advantages in design thinking, it puts you in the human-centered context where the lean startup maximizes efficiencies and, to be testing these minimum viable products and testing singular ingredients. But it also takes a more scientific approach as well, where you're analyzing hypotheses rather than just finding higher level insights.
And Lego's pretty unique in that it's a privately owned company. And there just aren't too many privately owned companies that are at the scale that you guys are. I wonder if you could talk about how being in a privately owned company where you may have more freedom than if you had investors that you were beholden to, how does that affect innovation or just the culture at the company?
Yeah, I guess Lego is family owned, and it's also set. It's also headquartered in Denmark, and they have their own set of values, and so it's a great place to work. It has built an amazing culture that it expects and delivers high quality output. The motto is only the best is good enough, but it also realizes that you have a life outside of work, and so I don't know. I can't compare it to kind of a publicly owned corporate culture because I haven't been in that space, but it's definitely bred a culture where the people are first, and everyone is motivated to deliver a great product. And we do offer a great product that many of us employees love as well, and we believe in. So it's just a great culture to be a part of.
So I think it's really, it's amazing that Lego bricks built in 1955 still work with bricks built today. I'm curious, how does that continuity, affect the desire for Lego to remain relevant in any way? Does it restrict you, or do the constraints actually help in some way?
It is definitely a system in play, but it's very open in the possibilities. Like there's been over 500 billion Lego bricks produced over the last, several decades, and every one will interconnect with ones, the very first bricks out of production. So, when your Lego set eventually falls apart after playing with it, it goes into the kids' bucket of bricks and it ignites their creativity. So from what could be seen as a broken toy now becomes infinite possibilities.
Dan Winger, Senior Concept Designer at Lego Future Lab. Thanks so much for joining us on the podcast today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.